I know some who've translated him to Welsh, and I don't think it's a very easy job because of his rather idiomatic and unique way of writing. So, but I'd be interested to hear what you have done, Lisa, in your research. So, croeso, diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Lisa, as you've heard, and I am one of that brave people who are trying to translate Dylan in other languages, especially in one of the Slavic languages, like in Ukrainian, which might be a bit challenging, as you will see. And I'm trying also in this way, I guess, to promote Dylan Thomas in Ukraine, because the reason, I guess, that he's not translated, still that he's not so popular and almost no one knows. Like, I guess Dylan is one of the figures, if we take different countries, it's rather almost 90% of people knows him. As I ask here, for example, maybe 100% will raise the hands. Or, you know, in Ukraine, actually, every time I was asking this question, who knows Dylan Thomas? And it was like silence. You know, no one knew about him except me, because I'm involved into it. Well, if you want, I can give you a hint of a question. Like, the story how I acquaintanced with him is rather interesting, but I'm not going to tell you now about this. But the thing is that I got acquaintanced with Dylan during the investigation. And during the investigation, I can say that I fell in love with him, and in his, not maybe with him, but with his works, so to say, because he's quite interesting, pretentious chap. But so pretty much my work and my lifelong plan is to translate all of his poems which he included before his death, like in collected poems. And today, one of the presented translations of Vision and Prayer, his unique visual poem, will be mine. So speaking about, I always forget about animation stuff, so translating Dylan Thomas, French, Russian, Ukrainian, you know, this is topic, and I'm doing this, I don't know. So, first of all, Dylan and me have the questions. So, which to you, if you're willing to answer, you know, maybe someone has a quick thought. So what we can consider a good or adequate or accurate or successful, perfect translation. So if someone has quick thoughts.
To do a translation?
Yeah, like what?
I guess translation's got a lot of pitfalls, isn't it? It's getting the sense of the words, making it idiomatic. It's either being like super accurate, so like transliterating, or getting the feel of the language, I suppose. I go more for the feel of it.
Yeah, I guess I agree with you, on this point. So as a person who follow the feelings and something, so in this case, that's why I chose literature, I guess. So before, I guess, moving further and knowing what theoretically we can succeed, like we can define as a successful translation. So there are some quotes of about translation, and some of them are pretty controversial. So for example, this white one, good one, like yin and yang, So words travel worlds, translators do the driving, and this is by translator. But by Robert Frost, he was said, poetry is what gets lost in translation. So just for you to think, I'm not going to ask what do you think about it, because it's, for you, maybe it's like another topic, but another one's also quite controversial. So the author, in this case, says that without translation, I would be limited to the borders of my own country. The translator is my most important ally. He introduces me to the world. But Umberto Eco, another Italian author, says, like, translation is the art of failure. And what he means by it, it's up to you, again, to decide which is up from the good point or from the bad point. But nevertheless, this is really controversial. Some authors are really excited about their translations, some are not. But I'm sure Dylan would be maybe quite excited even about trying of his translations. So, quick answer in the studio again. Can we do a 100% accurate translation? What do you think? Yes or no? Yeah, the answer is no. Okay, so we cannot. Basically, nevertheless, how we are trying, it's impossible. That is why a little bit of theory. So again, it's not maybe official theoretical stuff, but to succeed, for me, there are like 4 main parts. It's like rhythmic structure, for example, we should preserve. Yeah, if we compare original source and if we want to make our own translation. So rhythmic structure, which is really important to give the mood of the translation, because sometimes you will see how it can differ because of the rhythm, and sometimes because of the difference of languages, it's really, really hard to achieve. Then rhyming patterns as well. Yeah, so it's possible some of the works can be translated. For example, it's quick, like pretty accurate rhyming structure, but some translations can be without rhyme, for example, yeah, like verlieber or something. Then line length also. In our case, it's really, really efficient because this is a visual poem, and sometimes line length can form a, as you will see further, the accurate image, the image which also can give some context additional to the, and the last one, but not the least for me, is equivalence in context. And this is what I'm trying to preserve for the first time, because first of all, I try to preserve the context, and then if I'm really, really lucky, so I can preserve all the others, like rhythmic structure, rhyming patterns, and line length, because without context, these 3 are nothing, just if we here say something, translate in gibberish way, so this one won't save us. So, nevertheless, so I don't remember. Oh, sorry, just computers. So, the main priority is to save the context. This is the golden rule, but to grab some other patterns as a bonus would not be bad at all. But in case of Dylan, I would add, it's not an official term, it's just from my feelings. So I would also add musicality is one of the things we need to work on as translators. Because I'm sure that if you know him, maybe you've heard some of how he presented his works, how he read, and it's available on YouTube. I'm not going to show you now. It's a piece for you, maybe if you haven't heard, to listen once again, in the evening, after the conference. But let's trust Richard Burton, also famous Welsh actor. He mentions in his diaries that only Dylan could read his own stuff. Others were presenting their poems in that peculiar sing-song, tonelessness, colorless way that most poets have. So these are literally in red. Those are word and word from Richard Burton diaries. So in this case, I hope I can relate myself more to Dylan and not to other poets, and that you're not bored enough. And we are moving to basically the poem Vision and Prayer, like the poem with which Dylan was really proud, and you see the question, you start thinking about it while I'm moving. So these are the first stanzas. The first and the last one, I guess, that's it. So the first and the last stanzas of the poem. So basically there are 6 stanzas like the first, like you see on the slide, and 6 and others, which are the second part of the poem. So before translating and analyzing other translations, we need to investigate the original source and try to look at it like detectives from different points of view. So first of all, what do I want from it? What do I see? What do I understand? Should I give up because it seems I understand nothing about this? So basically, no, you shouldn't, because especially in Dylan's case and these poems, it's okay, and it might go in several months even, some connotations. But now the quick question again for you. So what concepts each of the shape depicts? So what do you see? It can be obvious answer. Don't think that it's obvious and something. So what it might be, basically.
The first one is birth, with the second being hourglass.
Yeah, so, yeah, okay. So, other variants, no?
I see a poem that grows ever more in the beginning and then shrinks further. Whereas the inverse for the opposite, where life shrinking to then being something growing.
Yeah, so again, yeah, about life, death, so yeah, so basically could be it could be two answers. So one is like obvious layer, yeah, so rhombus, or in other cases it also represents like a womb, so this also is a symbol of birth, and hourglass, and also death, the symbol of death. Or we can also look even deeper and see if we put all of these together, again the symbol of life, the DNA molecule even we can find here, you know, so it's like, and maybe more and other stuff, you know, as well. So this question, I'm not sure if you're willing to answer this, I will be really, really glad. But if not, it's okay, because it's kind of complex question. So if you ask to translate this kind of poem, what difficulties and what information, what difficulties you might face and what information will need to succeed, you know, in this. But it's just, I'll give you several seconds, but if not.
Well, an hourglass may not be relevant entirely around the world. It may not be recognised as a symbol of time. Looking for our Western lens here, perhaps, but I can't imagine that's universal around the world.
Yeah, okay.
I would suggest there are also some, I certainly know some phrases in German that literally don't translate to English, so you might have something the other way round, where like an idiomatic phrase we have literally
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, idiomatic phrases or realias again, so, or associations even, because they might be not comprehensible, they might be comprehensible here, but not in another country as well, and this will be just, what? Like, what's it about? So, let's move further, and basically we're moving, and I will take maybe not a lot of time in this as well. So, through other, just this is, for example, the French translation. Yeah, of the poem. So first of all, just looking slightly without even knowing the language, we can see that basically the form is preserved. Yeah, so everything's all right on this point of view. And if we're looking just translating word and word, we see that it's also all right. You can trust me, someone who doesn't know French, so you can trust me that this is literal translation, like almost word in word, word in word. And I guess, first of all, this is like the advantage of Roman languages and Germanic languages. Yeah, might be because, for example, Slavic language and Germanic languages and Roman languages, Germanic, they're much closer, you know, if we compare this. But if we start reading, for example, do we have the same mood or not? So I will just read part of it. So. Not as Dylan, obviously, but thanks God he's not in this room, so no one will judge me. So, who are you who is born in the next room, so loud to my own that I can hear the womb opening and the dark run over the ghost and the dropped sun, behind the wall thin as a wren's bone. So, first of all, it might seem that's not, but we hear the rhythm. First of all, pretty clear rhythm and rhyme and all of this, even in the in the middle of the sentence, something. Yeah, wall, bone. So somewhere we can depict it. Only in reading we can understand it. This is pretty rhythmical. But then maybe it's just French language. But qui es-tu toi, qui naît dans la chambre à côté, si fort près de la mienne, que je peux entendre la matrice sourire à l'obscur, soudain courir au-dessus du fantôme de l'enfant délivré, derrière le mur aussi fin qu'un os de roitelet. So, kind of, we don't maybe hear this, you know, written. Maybe, again, because of the stresses in French language is really like every stress should be on the last syllable, yeah? And a lot of letters are not pronouncing, and yeah, it's maybe also challenging for the author to translate. So nevertheless, we see the literal translation, the form preserved, but somehow we read this and we don't feel Dylan Thomas here, so to say. Like maybe in the context, yes, but if he would try to read this, it wouldn't be the same. So the mood kind of changes. Okay, let's, for example, look at Russian translation. Yeah, basically, we see that a little bit, that's what I was talking about. The Slavic languages, yeah, they're really broader a bit in words, in syntactic structures. So in this case, I can say that it's quite good, but it is not new. They have several translations of this poem. So this was made in previous century in USSR times, you know, and it was banned actually. Some of the, Dylan Thomas, I guess some of the Dylan Thomas's poem were banned in USSR. I don't know, just he wasn't so much into politics in his poems, but still, you know, they found maybe something. So now they have like a full compilation, the book of it. This is, I guess, the only one in Russian that full, you know, translations. So this is pretty good, but sometimes we see that the structure is kind of preserved, but a little bit, you know, it wasn't fully preserved. So, for example, number of 9 is really efficient for this poem, because 9, it's another actually topic of it, but I will just tell about without symbolic deciphering. That, for example, this is the 9th line. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9, and then again, you know, and also if we count syllables, yeah, in each of the line, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's like number 9 is everywhere. Basically here it's obvious that it's not like this, you know, number 9, it was impossible to preserve the structure fully. Then this is the longest line, for example, that if you see this is the 8th one, not the 9th one, but this is, yeah, it's not efficient, so to say, the context preserved, but it's part of analysis also to include. So context preserved, but this is interesting, like about the Wren's bone, but I wanted to make a look at it because, for example, this is the line that's, you know, coincides, you know, перепелки, you know, the last word. Перепелка, it's I forgot this word, I'm sorry, quail. So it's slightly another bird, just for you will see the sizes of it, I guess, maybe. But yeah, so for example, showing on this, yeah, so the quail is a bit like this, you know, and wren is a small bird. But on the other hand, you know, quail has the smallest eggs, you know, that we can eat as food, you know. So in the Russian culture, I guess, is something. That is why maybe author chose, because I guess I thought, why not sparrow, for example? Yeah, because sparrows, even if we don't have wrens, yeah, as birds, but sparrow is still a small bird. But maybe this is the point, you know, about that, to show that everyone will understand that it has the smallest eggs, and this, like, the imagination, this smallest bird is something. So also one of the just one more point about Russian translation. So, for example, what is the here I don't know if you, even if you don't know the language, we see 3 equal words. Okay, you will see my shadow. Слышал. So it's like, слышал, it's here. But here we have only one word like this, so that I can hear the womb, and then we don't see the same. So this is one of the ways to make the rhyme, so to say, by repetition of one word, like, and to make a suggestion, you know, so to say, to, you know, overemphasize some of the things and to lead to the climax, so to say, because of the lacking of rhymes in another places. So this is one of the ways how we can translate. So, okay, words. And the last one, okay, it seems perfect. It's in Ukrainian translation, but I'm not going to, you know, you can trust me in my self-critics. So I would like to say that this is perfect, but it's not. You know, so first of all, yeah, I tried to preserve the structure as well, because because I thought it's pretty efficient, you know, and I wanted to try. And I tried to preserve the rhyme, but I can say that I have some of the gaps in the context because, for example, in some of the, for example, over the ghost and the dropped sun, but I guess I lost some of the words, you know, he like dropped sun, just that I preserved like son or child more to say, so I even, yeah, so by the way, I didn't mention that this is exactly sun, so in this case maybe it's efficient, so it's, yeah, because, yeah, but I mean, and I guess that this needs to be edited in more in the context way or something like this. So I guess I can lead to conclusion or something because I want you to ask me also some questions and I want to tell everything. So first of all, it's like some of the things that we need to know, so to say, to translate, to succeed in our translations. So it's like we dive into culture and historical background, biography of the author, general characteristics of his her works, the context of translation, connections with other authors as well, and etc. So all other things like genres and motivating stuff that any translation cannot be 100% accurate or adequate. In this case, we need to try, and I hope that maybe someone in this room also translating someone else. And to conclude, I can say that it's a lifelong plan, but I will try to succeed to do my translations, and I hope that I will do this accurately. And this is the picture on both here to see the signature. So Diolch, thank you very much. I'm open to
Thank you very much. Commission, we can now have questions as we had with the previous speakers. We've got 5 minutes or so. If you have questions or comments that you would like to share, this is your chance.
This is your last chance.
Could I ask you just to read the Ukrainian, please? I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, okay, sure. I don't remember it by heart, but... Хто є ти, що народився кімнатою поряд, та розголосився, що чутно утроба говорить, відкрита і темрява мчить, і з приводом дитину вгомонить, полишено, крихку, мов кістки горобця. Багряним ліжко запалало у мерця, приховане для круговерті часу, а серце чоловіка б'ється, проте не на хрещення, темряві лише одній, благословенній навіженним чадом. Something like this.
Yeah. How much of the rhythm like the English does?
It needs to be, yeah. I'm still in the process, you know, this addition, all the time you're looking at it after several weeks or so, and several weeks ago you thought you're a superstar, like 7 weeks after you think that you're something, vice versa.
Yes, thank you very much for a very interesting performance.
Yes.
We're going to go into that kind of Romanian. Anyway, so yes, thank you very much. The question I had is, what do you think would be the appeal of Dylan Thomas to Russian and Ukrainian speakers?
What do you mean, like appeal, like?
Well, you're mentioning context and the way you are translating. It's 100% impossible because a lot of these texts are embedded within history and social context, so on and so forth. So what do you think if you were to bring it to the Russian audience? Why would someone like it or perhaps not like it? That's what I mean by it.
Yeah, okay, it's really interesting question. I'm thinking about it. Like, for example, here, even I read once information that even for English people, it's really hard and complex from time to time to understand, because Dylan wrote his works in English, but nevertheless he had deep inside in his genes and his blood, Welsh context, it's everywhere, in his works, and it's like a second layer or something. But I guess he has, first of all, a lot of landscapes, which might be, similar also, in our work, and people are going to dive into it as well. And I guess his work's really relevant and can be accurate in any time for everyone, because he uses associative worlds, associative images, and the world of association is is perfect in the way that everyone can interpret it in his or her own way. Yeah, so in this case, for example, some people can read the translation and see something else, like some biblical images, for example, and they will be dived into it and kind of making a research and maybe looking for the original source. Ideally, maybe it would be good to make, just one page as like original source, and then to compare like the translation for people who have a chance, who knows English, to compare, but another person can find something, connected again with like landscapes, like Welsh landscapes, Welsh culture. Also, a third person can find something really personal about love or life and death, something philosophical. So that is the point, and that's why he could be, even popular, I guess. Why not? Because he didn't write about even one of his poems, that the hand that signed the paper. It's pretty political, if I can say so. So it's like So it is accurate, because it seems like it was written about some medieval times, about kings, like writing the paper, something, just slaves or something. But it is happening now. I mean, in our world still. So in this case, even such poems like this, pretty unique, they can be accurate in every time during the
Thank you very much.
If I answered your questions in a way.
Thank you for the question.
So obviously your plan is to translate into Ukrainian and Russian and French, I assume. But are you looking for anything in particular within those translations? Are you looking for any kind of like structural similarities in the way that they turn out in those languages, or is it kind of purely to kind of bring those poems to those different communities?
So those are translations by French and Russian, were not mine, obviously. So just to make sure that I'm not getting all the appreciation for this. But it started first of all from just analyzing the other translations, because I didn't think of translating by myself, so to say, first of all. But then I thought that I can translate and even analyze after this, but to do this, first of all, I needed to see how other people, what approaches do they have, maybe which mistakes I should not make, or how it can be done, what techniques, which good techniques they're using. For example, especially with Russian, it's like also Slavic language. So I can see sometimes you see the Russian translations not good, like from modern ones, and you kind of trying to see which is, and the more translations you read, you're trying to see which are good, which are bad, and it's getting into your core or something, and you try not to repeat those mistakes, so to say, or kind of find another ways in this.
Trying to find like the purest translation that you can, in a way.
Kind of trying, or just analyzing, or find something that I will be really admiring, or find something that you can criticize and kind of in comparison to explain, which is, so to say, if we can say, because there is also a theory, there is no like good or bad translation, that's like really subjectively, but to my point at least, so how we can preserve what we lose, because in all of the cases it's different points that we lost, different points that we preserved, but somehow magically, we can lose a lot of things in one translation, but we preserved context and kind of it seems in the same mood, but in another it's literally almost everything right, but somehow it's just pale or something, not alive without, so it's kind of magic. So to say, how it happens.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa, for a fascinating
Thank you.
presentation.